Good morning, Rabbi Sai. My name is Hindi Gruber. I'm 11 years old. I'll appreciate if you can show this tomorrow's shir. Do the daf every day. As you can tell, it makes a nachas ruach for Hashem. For all cities, people do the daf. Yes, my father's one of them. On the way to shir, my father will be going in about 5 weeks. I don't know what that is exactly, but bekitzer, if the kids are involved, it's givaldik. What? It's a pen. Something like that. Okay. Shalom Aleichem, Rebbe. Thanks for your mix-up with the two Alex Mermels things the other week. I reconnected with my chavrusa from 10 years ago. The Alex Mermels, that's another side benefit of MDY. People reconnect with lost friends from all over the place. From 10 years ago, Alex Mermels signed up for the monthly giving. Thank you for your Geshmak shir that keeps us learning every day. Best. I'm a younger Yerushalayim, pictured together at the Yishai Rebo concert. I don't know which one is who. I'm going to guess that Ami's on the left. I don't know. Stop. The Galaceum in Manchester. How many people here are from Manchester right now? No, but you guys live here. You are guests. Yes. Guests, and you're also guests. So we have two guests from Manchester. A third one. What's your name? What's the last word? Ackerman. Ackerman. So we have three, but you know each other? You all know each other?
Yes.
It's
a tiny place. Everyone knows each other.
Shkoich Nachman Seltzer.
It's not true.
It's not true.
It's in Manchester. It's a tiny place. It's like the size of.
I used to.
Hey, it's a good thing that you're here now. He'll go after you and he'll leave me. Shkoyach. Rebbe, the scene. Naomi's Pizza. You're going to love this picture, Rabbi. You're going to love this picture. Naomi's Pizza, Outdoor Sukkah, Queens, New York, 3 p.m. Erev Yontif. Wife and I took our seats, pizza in hand. Across the sukkah, I find Yitzchak and Moshe Cohen, a father and son. If you bites into my slides, good morning, Rabbi Sai, could be heard over my right shoulder. The sound won't bother you, will it? Ask Yitzchak the father. Instead of talking about sports, politics, or weather forecasts for the upcoming Chag, Yitzchak and Moshe chose to spend their precious father-son bonding time over pizza, milkshakes, and the MDY daf. We've been learning the daf since brachas, along with our son located in Alaska. These guys they have relatives in Alaska, they're from, I don't know exactly. Couldn't leave this heartwarming scene without snapping a picture attached below to share with the MDY family. Permission was granted by them to share this with the Rav. Kind regards, David Margolis. Here is the father and son eating pizza and milkshakes in Queens. Gewaldig. Love it. The Koilel is sponsored. Lili Nishmas Chaya Bas Yosef. The Mesechta is sponsored. Lili Nishmas is Baruch Ben Moshe Aaron and Lili Nishmas.
That also.
I listen. If I do it, it's one thing. Lili Nishmas Yosef Ben Natan Shalom, and for that hatzlacha for my children. The Mesechta is sponsored by Jeff Razen, zchus my son Yosef Simcha Chaim and Chana Refuah Shlaima. Let me do this again. This has to be serious. Jeff Razen, zchus my son, Yosef Simcha Chaim and Chana Refuah Shlaima. Amen. The rest of the Masechta Ofishel Mitzva Motivators, the Refuah, Abraham, Mנשה ben Chana, Brokha, Refuah Shlaima. Yossi Sounders sent in today that he finished his 5 daf that he took on the Refuah Shlaima of Avi. The Paras HaChodesh, Li'nish was Zechrya ben Moshe. Paras HaShavua, Vladislav Zakharov, in the zchus that I finished my research by February. And Paras HaYom, Refoel, we have a Paras HaYom, Paras HaShavua, Paras HaChodesh, Paras HaKoilel, Paras HaMasechta. Okay, Refoel Grosskopf, in honor of my son Osher Zelig, Ushi's bar mitzvah. And, I wanted to show this. Remind me, Yosef, somebody. Yesterday, we had 2 Hasidim from Monsey, the Sinner brothers with a C. And as the older one, I guess, was leaving Shachris yesterday, he said he wanted to donate $180 a month. So Yishkoich Reb Yaakov Sinner, $180 a month. Young guy. He says, where else should I give my mice for money? He told me. Aaron Rosenblum, 10. And Kleiners, 10. And here we go, Rabbi. So, today's share is sponsored by Donny Fein. For Refuah Shlaima, for his father-in-law, Getzel Mayer ben Chana Sara, who needs a Refuah Shlaima. Nothing major, right? Stick on pneumonia. Okay. Refuah Shlaima. I don't want to scare the oilam here. We're holding. So, Daf of Amud Aleph. 4 lines down. So we just finished the story with Ravanan, where somebody came and gave him a box of small fish, and he says, "What is this?" He says, "I'm about to do Torah by you." So he says, "No, thank you. There's no Torah, no fish." So he says, "But I want to be kind of the mitzvah of bikurim." We see by Elisha, you give 20 breads, 22 breads. There's bikurim. Even though Elisha was not a Chaim, you could get, when you give a Talmud Chacham, you're kind of a mitzvah bikurim sort of. So he says, "Okay, fine." But he sent it to Rav Nachman, and by sent a message to Rav Nachman. He says, "I can't be done this din." Instead of explaining what he means, that he wanted to give me a box of fish, he gave me he says, "I can't do it." So Rav Nachman took it as if this gentleman is a relative of Ravanan's, and therefore he treated him with respect. And by treating him with respect, it knocked the other guy out. The guy that came to Din Torah with Rav Anan's fish guy couldn't say anything. Says Gemara, Rav Anan have a rogel Eliyahu dasagabe. Rav Anan is no katlikanya, as they say. He was a great man. He used to learn with Eliyahu Navi. Dav Masli Seder Eliyahu. We say every day in Eretz Yisrael at least, Torah Devei Eliyahu. That Seder Eliyahu, Chidah says it's not, it's Tana, but most from this Gemara prove that Seder Eliyahu, Torah Devei Eliyahu, Kol Hashana Lachas B'chol Yoyim, Ufta L'Shem B'nei Haba. You taught him the Torah Devei Eliyahu. Ki Even David Hachi, but once he made this very small error, he sent Rav Nachman a message saying that take care of this guy, I can't do it, and that sort of fooled Rav Nachman. It's a very minor infraction, it's not a big thing. That's it. Eliyahu Navi doesn't come anymore. Istalik. Eliyahu Navi stopped coming to him. Yosef Tanisa, so he sat in a tainis, Subay Rachme, and he davened Vasa. He came. Ki also, when he came, have a mavisli boo, he scared him. Whatever that means. I don't know, boo, or he looked different, whatever it was, he scared him. So Rav Anan had to make a box, put himself in a box. Yosef Kamei, and he sat in front of Eliyahu Hanavi ad apik lei sidre until Eliyahu Hanavi taught him the whole Seder. Amri Seder Eliyahu Rabba, Seder Eliyahu Zuta. This is the larger Sefer, which is 4 times, says Taisus, Yosef and Arba Yada is 4 times the size of Eliyahu Zuta. Says the Gemara, B'shnei de Rav Yosef have a rischa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu there was a kas from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which translates into famine. Maybe you could daven for us. Now, we, in our generation, we have no clue. Pasha, we have no idea what famine means. But in those days, it was a common thing. You see the whole Gemaras and Tainus, daven this way, daven that way. There's no eggs. There's no gas at the pumps. People panic a little bit. Or the worst I ever had it was when, but people start panicking. Or right by Corona, when Corona started, people started stocking up on water and toilet paper, and it's like a little bit of argosha. I was once in Europe. I forgot to bring food. That's typical. Went without food. I figured maybe when I get there nothing there. So I was eating coconut for 4 days. That was the closest I ever got to famine. I expect that also now in Africa. We're going as like yeshiva guys in tents, no food, whatever. There's a lot of meat. No shaychtim. None of us are shaychtim. Says the Gemara, Hashta. So Omalu, he says, no, I can't down for you. Why? Hashta. Omalu, Elisha. Have a rabbanon mifter mikamei. Have a pashit treyaf and umas rabbanon. Ben azmanim. I don't know what it was. When the olam left, it was the quiet time. Even during the quiet time, he had 2,200 talmidim left over. That's how many talmidim he had. And Rashi sticks in the word that he had to support them. They had to go. He had the Mir Yeshiva's what's it called? The dining room where they eat over there. You had to support 2,200 people with food. So there's a lot of people to feed, and there's famine. He didn't even daven for 2,200 Talmidim. Why? Because it's not a time to daven, I guess. It's when there's kas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then it's not a time to daven. I know Boy Rachme. I'm not like Elisha. I have less. I'm not as great. I can't daven. As Gemara, how do you know there's 2,200? When he got the 22 portions, we said 20 breads, one was barley, and then the kernels. It's 22. And he says, what should I do with this? Should I give this? Who do I give it to? I should give it in front of 100 people. Says Gemara, 22 divided by 100 people is 4.5 people per loaf of bread. It's not bad. In famine, it's not bad. Shalom Aleichem. It's a lot of food. No, it was one bread per 100 people. So it's 22 times 100 is 2,200, 2,200 Talmidim. And over there it says v'hoisiru, and the bread was more than enough. There was a lot of bread left over. It was a nace. Says Gemara, have a mifter rabbanim bei Rav, have a paishu alpha masar rabbanim. When the Talmidim left, Rav, so just left over, there were 1,200 Talmidim. Ve'Ravuna have a paishu tamne. No, Rabbanan says alpha umasan Rabbanan. Yeah, okay. People that the 1,200 had to eat from them. Ve'Ravuna have a paishu tamne Rabbanan. 800 Talmidim were left over. Ravuna have a darish with leis amiroi. Ravuna had so many Talmidim. A typical Tana or Amoyer would have an Amoyer by him, meaning somebody the loudspeaker. He would say it over quietly, and the loudspeaker would go, the Tana would go and give it over to his Talmidim. But Ravuna had so many Talmidim, he needed 13 of these loudspeakers. That's a lot of Talmidim. You have to assume that one person could talk to hundreds. Today we don't have that anymore. I mean, one person could speak in MetLife Stadium to 100,000 people. It's not a problem. But I don't know what they're going to do on Shabbos. But during the week, when Mashiach comes,
Like the flags like we do in the big show.
No. Torah. You have to say the Torah. You have to say it. Okay. Better acoustics, better this. When the Chachamim got up from learning Torah with Ravuna, v'naftzig limayu, and they shook off their garments. They're sitting on the floor over there. Havasalik afka. There's so much dust. V'kasila liyoyma. It blocked out the sun. V'amri b'marova. It became dark. That all the way in Eretz Yisrael, from Iran, till Eretz Yisrael, Kamelei mimasifta de Ravuna bavla. Look, they're getting up and they're going to learn. So today I was a little curious what that means exactly. It's kind of far to see a cloud of dust from Eretz Yisrael, from Bavel all the way to Eretz Yisrael. Standing in Eretz Yisrael, you can see clouds over there. So a number of pshatim here, 3 pshatim. Pshat number 1, that it was actually a nace, that in Eretz Yisrael they were able to see that the sun, the power of the sun went down, and that was l'kavod Rav Huna. Shot number 1. Shot number 2, that when people saw the dust, they saw like a cloud dust in Eretz Yisrael, they would say, oh, that's like Rav Huna's yeshiva. Shot number 3, that this dust that we're talking about it's on more on a ruchnius level. That in Eretz Yisrael they were able to feel the block of the sun, which could represent in this case Gehenim, Ra, whatever. So they felt like a mechitza sort of between the sun and them. And so they were able to feel a mechitza to the Ra. There's so much gedusha. This represented gedusha, a cloud of gedusha that broke the thing. like no, anania covered, like anania covered, like a separation between the outside world and them. No, which pshat? This he likes the second one. Okay, what? That when they saw cloud in Israel,
Can't it just be like a guzman? There were so many people.
it is a guzman, yeah, but over here it says that it blocked out the sun. Okay, fine. Another pshat, guzman. Anybody? First pshat, second pshat, third. Oh, he likes the second pshat. Okay, good. Huh? You have your own pshat now? A fifth pshat. You like the third pshat? The third pshat. Okay, good. That pshat is from Guy Eli. I just want everybody to say that's my pshat.
Sorry.
He said I go with Zara, not with you. What?
The third pshat wasn't clear.
It was very clear to Zeret. Rabbi Zeret understood it. Okay, knock my pshat now. If I said it's the first pshat, this is my pshat.
The second pshat was the best part.
Okay, a different. Omer of Yitzchak. No, we're not holding there yet. Oh, Kimit Rabbanim be Rabbi Reb Yosef have a paishu arba more Rabbanon. When the Rabbanon went from Rabbi and Reb Yosef's place, there was 400 left over. V'korel nafshayu yasme. You know how many we had last time? We have so many. Now we're down to 400. Yeah, that's one. Ki have a mifter Rabbanim be Abayo. V'amri lo mebei Rav Papa. V'amri lo mebei Rav Ashi. Some say it was from Rabaya, Rav Papa, or Rav Ashi. Have a paisha Masar Rabbanon is only 200. V'korel nafshayu yased yased. To me, it just reminded me like when I was in yeshiva. They said, "You don't understand. 2 years ago, the guys were such an unbelievable level, and also they were much better basketball players back then. And then, in camp 2 years ago was like so much fun. It was unbelievable. And that's a little shvach. You should, what I'm talking about. The guys always go back to what. This is not camp. This is emes. There's only 200 left, and back in the day, there's thousands. Okay, huh? What? Back in the day. No, but today they do. Back in the day, we had MJ. Yeah, okay, fine. But at the end of the day, the Yisayimim of Yisayimim, in other words, look what's left over. These are the Talmidim, these are the Chachamim that are holding the fort down when everybody runs away, so to speak. Ben Azmanim or whatever. These are the ones. I'm just like hinting here because next week we need people to hold down the fort. Yosef is saying, well, you have to put out a video. Okay. That's going to be your job to make sure. Omar Reb Yitzchak bar Difa, Omar Rabami.
If you send it early enough, you get it.
I know, we have to do it. By the way, I didn't speak to Gary, but Gary, could we do a shir tonight, like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock? I'm going to do another shir tonight, if you can. He's not talking, Baruch Hashem, he's not talking, but you could be Miramas. I don't know what you said, but this I understand. Omer Yisrael Rabami. The kids of the oil was not invited. Do not show up in a clock. Whoever comes, what I'm going to talk to myself and you. You don't laugh at my jokes. Whatever. Okay, fine. So we had in the Mishnah. Don't forget, we had in the Mishnah Dayanik Zerois. Those who are in charge of making the Xeris, they get paid from Trumas Halishka. We're going to talk about Trumas Halishka. I'll show you real quickly here. Not that this is going to help a lot, but these are the things we're going to be talking about. Stop to confuse the Olam. This Trumas Halishka, this Shayore Trumas Halishka. So real quickly, again, Klal Yisrael would bring a half a shekel. And from the half a shekel, they make a big pile of gold. As you see over there, I have a much better blow up of that. That's just for this chart. So there's a pile of gold, and from that pile of gold, of Chatzi shekel, they go ahead and they buy all the Karbanas Hatzibur. Basically, the carbon tamid of every day, that's the most expensive one, the Oila. Every single day you need 2 Karbanas. And Shabbos, there's Musaf, Rosh Chodesh, the whole thing. But it's from that pile. How do they do it? They took 3 times a year, which is basically 2 weeks, 15 days before every Yantav, before Pesach, before Shavuos, before Sukkos. Every Yantav, that's when people come, the Oila regular, they need a lot of Karbanas. And So they take 3 boxes. You can see them tiny over there. Maybe I'll show you the real here. They take a box like this, 3 of them, and fill up from this pile. 3 boxes times 3. That's called trumas halishka, like truma. You know, like you have a pile of fruit and you take a little bit off and you give to the kohen. Truma. So you have a pile of money and you fill up a box. That's called trumas halishka. Now I made a red line there on the bottom. Let's pretend that comes Rosh Chodesh Nisan and they didn't use up the whole box of money. So whatever's left over, they can't buy karbanis anymore. You can only buy a karban from the new money, from the new stuff. So everything below the red line is called shiyarei lishka. What do you do with that? So that's what we're going to be discussing today. Mama Shaskad, and these are sugis of shkalim, my favorite. And it's very easy stuff, very light stuff. Go a little bit into the Beis Hamikdash and the Kalim, things like that. So again, we're going to be talking about trumas halishka. That's to take the box and fill the boxes up. Left over in the box is called shiyarei trumas halishka, the leftover of the truma of the lishka. Then you have shiyarei halishka, and that is when you look at the giving away all the charts. Right? When you look at the pile, whatever's below that line, the new stuff, the old stuff is called shiyarei halishka, the leftover from the pile. I'm not talking about the leftover from the box. Leftover from the pile is shiyarei halishka, and you use that for whatever you use it for, and whatever's below that is called moisar shiyarei halishka. There's one line on top, that's the goal that they take all the boxes from. Below that is called shiyarei halishka. Then you have the leftover of the lishka. That's the second line that you do a whole different thing with. Okay, so let's go back over here. Then you have Betek HaBayis that we all know. People donate things and money to the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash. And they have moisar nesachim, which is a little tricky, because nesachim we would think is what? Wine, right? It doesn't really mean wine. It means the leftover of the carbon nesachim, of the flour, the oil, even the wine, whatever it is, whatever's left over. The extras, we're going to see exactly, but the extra, what do you do with the extra flour? You sell it and you do X, Y, Z. Says the Gemara, the people who are in charge, you know, every shlachtais, every time they do a shechita, you have a guy that checks. Mumim. Over here, they're looking on the outside to see if the animal has any kind of cataract or whatever it is that you can't use as a carbon. So who pays them? They can't work. Yom and V'layla, they're dealing with behemoths. They take from the box that you take off the pile, the trumas halishka. Here, this box comes from the pile, three boxes, 3 times a year. So they take from the box, directly from the box. Why? Because the idea is, Yosef, I'm sorry, I don't think I labeled these charts. I forgot to label them. Not never, don't exact. Sometimes I forget. Okay, so this money is dedicated, people donated it for karbanas. So anything that has to do with the carbon, checking the karbanas, has to do with this money. What about a mizbeach? What about you sheft a carbon on the mizbeach? Is that from the trumas halishka, or maybe it's Betek HaBayis because it's attached to the ground? So we're going to see. Those who teach shchita, what does that have to do with? What category is that? Karbanas. I'm teaching you how to shech the carbon. Now anybody can shech the carbon even in Israel, but the derech klal is the kohanim, and I need to teach them. Same place. Here's kmitza. The kohen has to stick his hand in this way, that way. There's a whole. Could you go like this? Could you go like that? But basically, they stick it in sideways and 3 fingers like this, and it's one of the hardest things to do in the Beis Hamikdash. They had to be taught these halachas. To take this amount and put it onto the mizbeach, that's a carbon. That's a type of a carbon made out of flour. This one is a big chiddush. The ones who, what's the word in English? They go over the svarim. They proofread. Is it a better word? Editors, proofreaders. they go through all Svarim, says Rashi, any sefer. Why? Because it says in the pasuk, it's also to have a sefer that has mistakes in it in your house. So Chacham saw that people weren't so careful with it, so they hired public officials to be proofreaders. So it shouldn't cost people money, and let's get rid of all the mistakes. Why does it come out of the Trumas Halishka, which is dedicated to Karbanas, needs to be understood. The bottom line is that Chachamim, they made a kula here. The Hefker Bezdin Hefker, they took the money, they said, listen, we need it for this thing, so let's go. Says Rav, Noshem Orgis Baparoiches, Noitli Scharon, Mitrumas Halishka. What is the Paroiches? The Paroiches is a mechitza. Here you see a picture of the Paroiches. Here's the Paroiches. This is inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Paroiches is just a curtain. The rest of the structure of the Beis Hamikdash was made out of stone or whatever, wood, stone. Over here, because of the way it was built and it was so tall in the second Beis Hamikdash, was 30 amma, that I think it was 30 amma. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was 60 feet tall. They couldn't build it out of the materials that they had available back then because something that's 30 feet tall has to be wide on the bottom. And you can't be wider than 1 amma. You can't be narrower than 1 amma. So what do? The only way is to hang a curtain and create 2 curtains, one on this side, one on this side, and an amma is about 2 feet wide. So you have a curtain over here. It's not going to be 2 feet thick. You just put one curtain here, and that's what you see over here in this picture. You can see the Chaim. All these pictures from Yuma are from Kol Al-Shan Sefer. So, Noshem Argois, I'll say, I don't know if you're familiar, but the individual that owns Kol Al-Shan, he does the entire thing with his own funds. And a Sefer like this one he didn't tell me, but the one on Eruvin cost him close to $1 million. This, probably $500,000 or something like that, each Sefer. Because the amount of pictures and everything, so tremendous hakar satayv to him. We had an easy time going through Eruvin and Yuma, a lot of fun with his pictures. Anyway, Sukkah, yeah. He sells it for free, basically. It's just give him a little something, yeah. So we have machloikis. Is this a wall of the Beis Hamikdash? And a wall of Beis Hamikdash, you take the funds from the Bedek HaBayis, literally from the upkeep of the house fund. It's part of the structure. So what does Rav say? Rav says no. The paroiches comes from Trumas Halishka, from the carbon fund. The family of Garmu, who they had a trick how to make. Here, this one is the lechem apanim. If you want to see what it looks like, they had something they wouldn't teach anybody how to make lechem apanim. Beis Avtinos al Beis Avtinos wouldn't teach anybody how to do the Ktaris. They had a special trick. And they took a lot of money. That money came straight out of Lishka funds. So you see, it's not from Bedek HaBayis funds. Noshem Argis Baparoiches comes out of the Lishka, Trumas HaLishka, not from Bedek HaBayis. Says Gemara Hasam de Bevavi. If it's a curtain that covers some sort of entrance, there's 13 curtains. Shiva, Keneged Shiva Shara. So you look over here. Let's bring this guy here for now. But once this is not, I took this down, but we have sharim on this side. Yeah. So these sharim over here, you have different sharim. They need a paroiches. Inside over here, let's say, so that people don't see straight in, paroiches. So there's 13 of them. This you could see how tall the structure was, and the paroiches that we were talking about before is this high. The Kodesh HaKadoshim is in back over here. This is the Ulam, Heichal, Kodesh HaKadoshim. This white part is the Ulam. Then comes the Heichal, and then Kodesh HaKadoshim. But there was a paroiches dividing the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the Heichal. Only Kohen Gadol went in there on Yom Kippur. And the top part was every 50 years, I think. Nobody ever went to the top part of the Kodesh HaKodashim just to fix once every 50 years. Okay. Says the Gemara, there was one for the entrance to go into the Heichal. And what Heichal? So here's the Heichal, right over here. Gershon, are you able to go down a little bit? Okay, Heichal. You can see right over here in orange, these are the two paroichases. There's a little bit of an entrance here and an entrance here. These are two. And this right over here is Kodesh HaKodashim. Right over here. There's the Aron, etc. Shtayim badvir, two in the Kodesh HaKodashim, Shtayim kenegdan ba'aliyah. And there's two upper ones that go all the way up here, 60 feet up. Okay, so anything that had to do with tznius, not to look in, not so much for the structure, that was done with Trumas Halishka. Torah Rabbar. Nashim HaGadlis b'neim lapara. So what happened is, there was a big fight between the Tzdukim and Klal Yisrael. The Tzdukim learned the Torah literally. They didn't have Torah Shabbal Peh. And they said that the Kohen who does the paraduma is the ashes of the red heifer. The ashes have to be burned in B'tahara when you're Kadosh, when you don't have Tumah. So they said that he has to have the typical hazais and the mikvah and everything like a Tmei Meis. You have to go through a whole process of 7 days, and that's not the halacha. So Chachamim, on purpose, to show that the Tzedukim are wrong, they went ahead and took a rat, a sheret, and touched the kohen, put him in the mikvah, and immediately let him do the paraduma. So what happens is that people are going to say, paraduma is a lighter kind of thing. It's not a big deal. Look, touch him with a rat. So they went out of their way, in the most extreme way possible, to show the chumrah of paraduma. On the one hand, they were makel to get to the tzdukim, but on the other hand, they went to the opposite extreme, to the point where they took women that were pregnant, put them in a special place that there can't be any bodies underneath, on a bedrock. You can't bury underneath. It's too hard to bury, most likely. And then on top of that, they built a stage. So even if there was a body buried there once upon a time, the stage would separate the tumah, won't allow the tumah to go through because the stage was at least a tefach above the ground. These women gave birth there. And then the kids traveled, when they were 7-8 years old, they traveled like this on a door that was on top of a bull. The kids and then they drew the water. You imagine the amount of resources that takes to bring up children for 8 years straight and build these stages and just feed them for 8 years in order to show the chumrah. On the one hand, we gotta show them the kula, that they're wrong in halacha. This is the halacha. But because the people shouldn't take paraduma lightly, they went to this extreme. Okay, that's nashim hamagalis. Now, where do they get the money to support these women? And it's interesting that yesterday, even before I learned this Gemara, I just had a machshava based on the Vilna Gaon. I don't know what this machshava is going to do or anything, but I threw it out there. The Vilna Gaon says, the other day we were learning that if you build a shul with a shovel that was made from scratch, and like the Gemara says, I forgot his name already, who planted the flax, and then he made a net, and then he caught the animal. Very good. So that's how you bring up a gadol. And then I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, that's in the net, that's in the sefer. But what about the human being himself? And maybe that's the pshat. You go to the mikveh first, and there's a certain element of kedusha. Now it's up to you to continue that kedusha throughout life. But any kind of element that you put in there, there was a maisa. I don't know if it was in the Gemara, but I remember this maisa. This woman who had Reb Elisha, Reb Shmuel, Reb Elisha. I forgot who it was. Who she davened that she should have a kid. She only had girls, and then she wanted a boy. And kids are So she asked her neighbor, how do you have all these boys? She said, everything's bigdusha. So she went to the mikvah, and she comes out and she saw a davar acher. She saw a pig. She went back to the mikvah. And then she came out and she saw something else. She went back. And on the third time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made like the malach, maybe it's Yerushalmi, I don't remember anymore. But anyways, this idea of, I was just thinking to continue that idea, why does it only work with a Gashmias thing? It could work with the human being also. If you could, call Yom of Nazir Lashem, I'm going to bring him like Shimshon, I'm going to bring up my kid, Kedusha from beginning to end. It's similar to over here also. I'm taking this kid, I'm giving birth to this kid on a platform that's above this, and mamish. Just a thought.
You won't have a good cleave.
No, and that actually explains, very good, Hill. It actually explains why a lot of Gedolim maybe have children like Reb Chaim Kanevsky is the son of the Stipler, and that because they actually were brought up in Kedusha. It's not genetic. It's okay, whatever, fine. So how do you find it after all that? Sorry, skipped. That's part of the lishka. Oh boy, only 4 minutes left. It's not true. The wealthier women used to be mefarnes them. Here's a klishares, something that has to do with the mizbeach, and they're made out of gold, very expensive. Do we take it from the building fund or from the carbon fund? So at the end of the day, we're cleaning up the mizbeach with these shovels, for instance, or anything else. It should come from the building fund. It's part of the carbon with trumas halishka. And over here, by the way, it doesn't mean trumas halishka. It means from the shiyare trumas halishka, from the below the line. It's interesting. So Rav says, you make them from the leftover, if I have the picture here, from below the red line in the box. They made a whole shiputz in the Beis HaMikdash. They renovated the Beis HaMikdash. And when they finished, the simple meaning, the leftover of the money, so you see the Bedek HaBayis, the leftover money for building of the Beis HaMikdash, the renovation. What did they do with it? They made klei shares. They made these kelim that we're talking about. Whoever taught you these psukim, he didn't teach you Navi. It says in the pasuk, this is Rav saying, so I have here, you can look in the side of the Gemara. It says in the pasuk, Kol klei zav klei chesef, it says mufurish in the pasuk, you take layas. You cannot make klei zav and klei kesef. The two reds. You don't have to read the whole pasuk. Layas. Do not do what? Klei kesef and klei zav from that money, from the Bedek HaBayis money. Why? It's not for Kalim. So what do you do with the contradiction of the psukim? One pasuk in Suvim says this, and the Navi says that. The first pasuk is when they had left over, they collected money and they had left over. So the leftover is for the Kalim. If you don't have leftover, you don't go for Kalim. So what if you have leftover? It's for the people donated it. It's not right? And it happens today also. I give to this fund, and I just heard something that I didn't like so much. Sometimes you give to these funds for families, and it says in little aldas chachamim, aldas rabbanim. So sometimes they decide, listen, this is a family already has $300,000. They don't need much. I'm going to take this money and give it. But I'm Litvish. I don't want my money to go to Litvaks. I want it to only go to Chassidim. What are you doing? No, they have the right to take it and go there. Fine. The Bezdin has the right to change it to do whatever they want. If we don't need the money for the Beis HaMikdash, what are you just going to sit there? You, the Klei Sharis, we decide. The Bezdin is deciding it. I'm giving it with the intent that Bezdin can do what's best for the Beis HaMikdash. Tana de Beir Yishmol. Klei Sharis by Mitrumas Halishka. So here we have another Tana that says that all the golden vessels, whatever it is, comes from the carbon fund. Shenemar es sha'ar hakesef. Same pasuk like we were saying before. So Gemara now learns sha'ar hakesef doesn't mean the leftover money. It means money that has leftover. Eise kesef sheyesh le shirayim. What money has leftovers usually? Haviyayim is the trumas halishka. All of Klal Yisrael gives a half a shekel. There's always going to be leftover. Beima shirayim gufayu. But if you just look at the basic pshat in the pasuk, it says sha'ar hakesef, the leftover of the money, not money that has leftover. So say that you should make it from the shirayim. Says the Gemara, Kidamarava, ha'ayla, ayla rishayna. When it says we dash in the hay, like ha, the more boys say that's where it comes from. Yeah, it's the most important one. Ha, the ha'ayla, the ayla. How do I know that the first carbon of the day is ayla? Maybe it's shlomim, because it says ha'ayla, the first one. Hachanami hakesef, kesef rishayin. The hey idea of hakesef means the first money, not the leftover money. It says in the Brisa. This is not. We're not dashing the hey here. Don't worry. The k'tairis, the incense, all that stuff comes from the carbon fund because that's something you put on a mizbeach. Mizbeach hazav. But check this out. This is a picture of the mizbeach hazav. It's in the heichal. It's movable. So since it's a kli, it's not part of the Beis Hamikdash. You can't make it from the Bedek HaBayis. It's a kli. It's more like a kli sharetz. Unlike the massive mizbeach. Here, I don't know if you could see it. I feel like I'm breaking this. This mizbeach right over here. No? Gershon is schliffing over there. Here, this mizbeach, that is attached. Again, here, this mizbeach, it's attached to the ground, so that's already made from Bedek HaBayis. Be'ez Hashem, I'm going to take this and put it above me. One day, you just need 2 screws and Shalom Yisrael. Over here it says Ulavayna. It's interesting that the Vilna Gaon argues with Rashi, it seems like. You see this aleph over here, he takes it out. He says it doesn't belong here. Lavayna is the frankincense that goes with the Lacham upon him. Uklei shares baim memoisar nesachim. So here the Gemara introduces a new thing. One pshat is every time that you bring either sell or bring flour to Beis Hamikdash, it was a little bit what's the word? Whatever the word is, they would smooth it out and take that little amount. That little amount added up to millions of pounds of flour. They would sell it, and but they were able to profit off of it. Akopanim, it says, again, let's read it again. Klisharis. How do you make a klisharis? By mimoisar nesachim. From the extra of the flour, of the oil, of the wine, the Beis Hamikdash profited. And not from Trumas Halishka, like who says? Like Rav says. Rav says all the way on the top of the Amud, you get it from Trumas Halishka. Over here you say, no, there's a new thing. Moisar nesachim. Mizbeach ha'ayla, the Mizbeach we just showed, halashakos v'hazaros. That's all part of the Beis Hamikdash itself, the walls themselves, from the building fund. Chutz l'chaymes ha'azara. I don't want to pick that up again. Chaymes ha'azara. Here, down here. Yeah, okay. You see, you don't even have to go. This. Anything outside over here from this wall on is chutz l'chaymes ha'azara. B'mish shiyore alashakos. Let's see if we have. Here, you see that line over there? Everything below the line is the leftover of the pile. That's left over to build walls over here. Okay, right over here. Anything on this side is from the leftover of the pile. The wall of the city. Umigdal Yisen, its towers. Bekitzer, the government stuff. So we have a problem. On the one hand, Rav says, how do you make the kalim, the Beis Hamikdash, from Trumas Halishka? On the other hand, we have over here that it comes from Moisar Nesachim. So Gemara Tanai, you're right. Rav has 2 Tanaim that say like him, and he's in good shape. It's not Moisar Truma, the leftover Trumas Halishka. What would they do? Rikui Zav. They would make sheets of gold. Now, very tzipui lebeis kachei hakadoshim. they would cover every year with like a thin sheet of gold. Says Rashi something I've never seen before ever. If anybody has another mikar to this, Rashi says mechabemem haritzpa vaksalim. I never saw that ever. Not that a big mumcha that they covered the floor with gold. I always thought that they covered the walls, and you see in all the pictures it's the walls. Over here Rashi says ritzpa. The floor is gold. Okay, next. Zog the Gemara, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Moisar Peiros, Lekayitz HaMizbeach. Any leftover, doesn't mean fruit, it means leftover oil, wine, flour. What do you do with it? You buy dessert for the Mizbeach. When there was a low time in the Mizbeach, you take a carbon, grab a carbon from one of the rooms over there, oil, put it on the Mizbeach for the low time. Dessert for the Mizbeach. Moisar Truma, leftover Truma Salishka, Likli Shares. Who says that? Moisar Truma, Likli Shares Aboisai? Rav. So here's a Tana that says just like Rav. Rabbi Akiva argues, Moisar Truma, Likayitz HaMizbeach. That's true. The leftover Moisar goes for the dessert. Moisar Nisachim, Liklei Shares. So here's, before when we said that you take Nisachim, you make Kli Shares, that's Rabbi Akiva. Rav holds like the Tana Kama. That's like Rav. You cannot benefit from extra food that the Beis Hamikdash has. That's what they say. Peres mai, what does it mean? What would they do with the extra truma salishka? Like in Peres bezal, they do deals with it. They would buy fruit for cheap. They sell to the people that need it. They buy a bunch of wine. They have a lot of tourists. It's a tourist trap. I come to Beis Hamikdash. I'm not going to schlep a sheep with me, 6 bottles of wine and oil, go up to Yerushalayim. You come there, you buy it, and then they had a whole stand over there and sell it. Sell it for a lot of money. Beis Hamikdash would make good money. And with that money, they would use it for korbanos. What does it mean they didn't agree to that? It's not. They buy wine, oil, and flour. You don't do business with Hegdish. And you don't do business. This is very interesting. We could go into it tomorrow, but you don't take money from Hegdish, money dedicated to poor people, and invest it in the stock market. So why do people do that today? Because they have extra money they could give Tani meanwhile. But you have a fund, you have a $20 million fund, you could put it and try to invest it so that it could bring payers year after year. But if you don't have that kind of fund, it's also for you to invest it and say, oh, I'm going to double my money and I'll give Tani more money. No. What if an Ani is going to come right now and needs money right now? Let's stop here because it's so late. But we're in the middle. Nah? Go weiter? We could go weiter. Let's finish. You guys could go, but I'll finish. Beis Hamikdash is not in the business of making money. They're so wealthy, you don't act like an ani, you try to make another few cents. How come you shouldn't do business with the anim's money? Maybe a poor person will come, we won't have any money to give to him. Have a wonderful day.